He said, when you win too much, you forget the highs and lows, the textures of life. When you win too much, you forget the highs and lows, the textures of life.
Welcome to Impact and Fulfillment with Coach Mike D, where you'll gain practical wisdom and dynamic insight from amazing conversations to live your best life.
What's going on, y'all? This is Coach Mike D with another episode of Impact and Fulfillment. I pray y'all are having an amazing day. I pray you're making memories. I pray you're doing what's important and having a good time in the process. But yo, dig this, man. I was just listening to an interview recently, and it's by this guy. He's a creative director. His name is Tremaine Emory. And he was being interviewed talking about his life and, you know, the ups and downs and, you know, some of the brands that he's been a part of. Like he's been affiliated with Supreme and Yeezy and, you know, he's created his own brands. I mean, he's really done a lot, right, in the creative / fashion space. And but what was interesting in the interview that I was listening to, he said, when you win too much, you forget the highs and lows, the textures of life. When you win too much, you forget the highs and lows, the textures of life. And, you know, when I heard him say that, you know, I thought back to a poem that I learned years ago by Rudyard Kipling, If. And in one stanza in the poem, If, he said, if you meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two imposters just the same. If you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. It is very similar to what Tremaine Emory mentioned when he talked about the concept of when you win too much and you don't have the highs and the lows, you miss out on the textures of life. And it's interesting because, again, when I connect the dots on Rudyard Kipling's, you know, stanza from If, what he's talking about is the fact that highs and lows, wins and losses, they're both imposters. And it's interesting because when you have imposters, you know, I guess for the highs, there are a lot of us that are okay with the highs or the wins. We're okay with those imposters staying around a little longer. Whereas those lows, those losses, oh, we want them bad boys to be gone quick, right? But the reality is they're both still imposters. They are not the baseline. They are not the norm. But without those highs and lows, you don't have texture. And I mean, it's interesting, again, coming through the lens of a creative director who's into fashion, and he mentioned textures. Like, I think about fabric, right? It's like you can't really feel a completely smooth fabric unless you like bump up against it somewhere and it's like pulled tight and you're trying to walk through it. But if it's like just somewhere you won't feel very smooth fabric well. There has to be some texture to it for you to feel it. And so when I hear him talk and I think through that specific lens, the wins and the losses, the fabric of life, give you the capacity to feel. And if we only have one side or the other, we become numb because that's our only baseline and we're unable to feel the other side. And the feeling component is so important. Because without the feeling, how do you recognize? You know, without the sensory organs in play, you know, your sight, your touch, your sound, your vision. I mean, sight, taste, touch, sound, and smell, right? Like, I mean, without those things in place, it's like, how do you interact with the world? Again, the textures of life. So I just said all this to say that quote by Tremaine Emory really hit me because so often we only seek out winning. Whereas this might be a case that we need to at times seek out situations in which we know we're not going to win, because that helps us to appreciate and to embrace the various textures of life. And without the textures, we don't have the feeling. And we do not want to become numb. You know, it's like having mastery of your emotions, right? Does not mean that you don't have emotions. It's that you're under control of your emotions. So you don't want to put yourself in a position in which you don't have emotions. You just want to be in control of them. You don't want to not have feelings. You just want to be in control of them. But to become a master of them, you have to have experience with them. So that just highlights the importance of experience on all sides. The wins, the losses, in the middle, some stuff that's meh, some stuff that's okay, I'd much rather not deal with that. Like, we got to have all of those things, right? Because the ultimate goal is to be prepared enough to effectively be able to navigate any environment around just about any type of person and be able to thrive. That comes from having the textures of life being fully emergent in your life. So, yeah, man, this is just something that's really been on my mind. And, you know, I hope this resonates with you. And, you know, continue to have an amazing day. Make the most of it. Grab a copy of my book, The 33 Laws of Impact and Fulfillment. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow Coach Mike D everywhere on social media. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise.